Hello, hello, hello. My name is Daniel, and this is the Engineering Success Podcast, episode 46. How are you guys doing? I don't know if you can see this if you're watching the video version. You'll see I got some straps on. That means I am baby wearing for this one. So baby E is on for the ride for episode 46, and I just want to thank you for also being on for the ride for the Engineering Success Podcast, where we are trying to engineer better careers in the engineering and related industries together. Before we get started, let's give a shout out to our top tier supporters. Thank you, John Ott, for your support of the podcast. You too can get a shout out at the beginning of every single episode of every single podcast. You can support me on Spotify for podcasters in the links in the description box, and YouTube or on Patreon. $10 a month gets you a shout out at the beginning of every single episode, and it allows me to cover things like maintaining my domain name, where you can visit the podcast. You can see my blog at www.engringsuccess.com, engringsuccess.com. And thanks to having that domain name, you can also contact me at daniel@engringsuccess.com. If you want to ask a question, if you want to be featured on the podcast, if you want to show up on the podcast. Speaking of podcast features, we got some exciting developments going on. I am going to be a guest on the Soft as Steel podcast. It's a podcast about soft skills in the construction industry, and some of you may know this about me, but I work for a large EPC firm in the engineering, procurement, and construction industry, and I spent the last year out in the field in New Orleans on one of America's largest natural gas infrastructure projects. So I have some skills and lessons to share on his soft skills podcast. It's called Soft as Steel, and I will be pushing it out to my listenership and to everybody to get everybody to listen to it. I'm really excited to show up on it. We're interviewing next Friday, and he's more advanced than me. He publishes an episode every week, and he records them weeks in advance. So I'll be probably published in a couple months from now. But again, that is the Soft as Steel podcast hosted by Dennis Doran. All right, well, let's get into it. As always, we start our podcast off with LinkedIn lunatics. So our first post is titled, "Does treating LinkedIn DMs like Tinder count?" Okay, let's see what this post says. It says, "Hey, how are you doing today?" "Hi, I'm doing well. How about you?" "I'm doing absolutely great. I was told that the only wonders of Earth seen from space was the Great Wall of China, but I think your name should be added to the list." Oh, that's cringe. Here, let me find the rest of the post. Oh my goodness. Here we go. I opened the wrong post. Carry on. All right, here we go. "Hey, how are you doing today?" "I'm doing well. How about you?" "I'm doing absolutely great. I was told the only wonders of the Earth seen from space were the Great Wall of China, but I think your name should be added to the list." Kissy emoji, kissy emoji. "If that's you in the profile, you're indeed a reincarnation of the Greek goddess of beauty, Aphrodite." What kind of church is this? Yeah, that's a little bit inappropriate. So his title is Janitor at Church, and he sent three unsolicited hit on bad pickup lines. This poor, unfortunate soul that had to be harassed by this person. So don't do this. LinkedIn is not it's not a dating site. It's not where you uh, approach people unsolicited for non-professional things. So just a bit of advice for you. If you see something that's beautiful, maybe go on your Tinder or your Hinge or whatever, and if you happen to see them again, then you remember that they're beautiful, and then you swipe right on them in that context. But definitely, there's no swiping right on LinkedIn. There's will you please connect with me and join my professional network? And hitting on people is not professional at all. Janitor at church. Doesn't matter which one, just show up on Sunday and he'll find you. And here's a question, not to sound like an a-hole, but why would a janitor need a LinkedIn profile? To hook up, duh. But really, maybe they're looking for a career shift. Yeah, so this is not going to help you pivot into a new career if you are on LinkedIn harassing people. So That is my advice. If you are also a janitor at church, please do not hit on random people on LinkedIn. The next one is titled, "You have to hire me as a UX designer because I am a stripper. Otherwise, it's discriminatory." Hi, I'm the stripper in search of a UX career opportunity who wrote this Medium article, and I'm tired of hiding my value of being a self-motivated, against all odds achiever because of everyone else's sex worker stigma. If sharing this means I won't ever get a UX job at your company, well, congratulations on your first step to recognizing your willingness to uphold discrimination. If your company chooses to hire me, know that you made the right decision in hiring a growth-focused performer and lifelong learner. And the title of the article is 13 Reasons Why You Should Hire a Stripper to Your UX Team. Well, I can understand the situation that this person is in. They might have had a gap on their resume that they've had difficulties explaining, and maybe it's come up in interviews, and I don't know if it would come up in a background search, but it's come up probably before, and it's probably excluded them from work before. And what I'd say is there is nothing about her prior career as a stripper that would make her unqualified to be work in UX. If she's qualified to work in UX, then she should definitely get a job in it. And really, it's none of anybody's business, and nobody should really care that she had a prior career in sex work. It really is. Nobody should care about that. Nobody should care about that. Now, if I were in her situation, I'm not. Would I have written this article? Maybe, maybe not. But then again, it's catchy. It's going to draw a lot of attention. And again, as I said, nobody should care. It shouldn't matter. I mean, it is her prior line of work, and now all that matters is that that she's good at her job. Now, there might be some stigmas there, as she said, and there might be some people might think that she's less professional, but as long as she's professional in the work that she does, then who cares? Like, who cares? So I think it's catchy. I mean, I think it's definitely as you can see, 2,587 people have interacted with this post, 171 comments, 81 reposts. I mean, I wouldn't say that people are discriminating like in a traditional sense if they're not hiring her. I mean, yes, they're specifically not hiring her, so I guess that's kind of discriminating. But I mean, it's not discriminating if they don't hire her in like the traditional sense of discrimination, in my opinion. But is there anything wrong with her? No. I mean, as long as she's qualified, then who gives a crap? Here's a idea. If you have the idea, this is a top comment. Here's an idea. If you have the skills and talent to be a UX designer, why don't you apply for jobs on that basis and not bring up the fact that you're a stripper? Whether people are discriminating you on that basis is reasonable or not, I fail to see that how being a stripper is relevant or a useful experience. So maybe leave that part out. And more than anything else, she's the one bringing up the stripper part front and center instead of her UX skills and asking people to confront it head on. Well, she in the first paragraph of the article, she mentions that she previously did everything she could to hide it during the first paragraph of the article. Bad market, I guess. Yeah, so she tried everything she could to hide it, and um, maybe it didn't work. But who cares? You know what? Good job. Go for you. I hope you get a job. I Not a lunatic. Lunatic is definitely the church worker hitting on people on LinkedIn. Not a lunatic is somebody using whatever their experience is to try to leverage themselves into a job. Hey, we all try to use our resumes to leverage ourselves into a new job, right? And that's what she's doing, and it got her a lot of clicks. And maybe she got hired at a good company that is excited to have her there based on her skills and maybe even for her prior experience. So good for her. Good for you. All right. Next one. All right. So again, we had one not a lunatic, one very much so a lunatic. Let's see what the next one is. Again, person talking about their own experiences. I am going to find it harder to find them a LinkedIn lunatic. All right, next one. Tag her/him when your HR is beautiful AF and she says, "Where do you see yourself after 5 years?" Me, together. So when your HR, human resource manager, and this person is a human resource manager, And she likes to let us know that she has 27,000 followers on LinkedIn. Good for her. Good for her. Um, HR, sorry, we have to let you go. Deepankar, you have been laid off. Deepankar, bro, you won't believe I got laid off. And it was that HR chick. Now, this has to be, as people say, a SHIT post. It has to be, it has to be, Deepankar is the name of the guy in the picture. Yeah, it's not appropriate, um, at all. So I'm guessing that I'm guessing that since this person actually works in HR that posted this, that she is not serious about it, because I wouldn't be serious about it, because I think that the worst the worst person to try to have an inappropriate relationship with at work is the people that work in HR. So when your HR is beautiful AF and she says, "Where do you see yourself after 5 years?" and it's just a picture of you having kids with them, that is a little bit crazy. But it just shows that LinkedIn is going further and further into the pits of being your typical meme Facebook site, and it's not about networking anymore, and that's sad. But hey, that's what Indeed and Monster Jobs and 1,800 Jobs are for, right? That's what those other websites are for. All right, well, that was this week in LinkedIn Lunatics. That was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's go into the next segment of the podcast, college. All right. So we got some good college advice here that I'm going to read off, and you are going to get to read it too. Oh, the post was deleted. Let's see though. Let's read the post. For future college freshmen, please read the advice given here. The biggest mistake, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this off and I'm going to comment throughout. The biggest mistake college students make is going to class and doing nothing else. If you do this, you will have a miserable time in college and have an extremely hard time finding a job after college. As someone in engineering, the worst applicants are people who just put class projects on their resume. The reality is that if you want to get a job or go to grad school after college, you need to be doing a lot more than just taking classes. Getting good grades is the bare minimum, just like how getting straight A's in college now doesn't even get you into a good CSU. Sorry, getting straight A's in high school doesn't even get you into a good CSU in California. It's especially important because most opportunities disappear once you graduate from college. If you graduate and fail to take advantage of any opportunities in college, not only did you waste tens of thousands of dollars, you are just as useless and unemployable as you were right now. Okay, not exactly. If you graduate and you have an engineering degree from college, then yes, you are very employable, regardless of how good of a job as you did pursuing extracurriculars in college. But I get the sentiment, right? You got to do your part to help build your resume. All right, first one, do undergraduate research as soon as possible. Find a professor who you can work with and gain experience in your field. If you want to go to grad school, research experience is mandatory. Yes, if you want to go to grad school, you probably should get some research experience. Is it mandatory? No, but you should definitely have it on your resume. And what I'd say is that the best time to do undergraduate research is probably the summer after your freshman year. It's a little bit harder to get internships after your freshman year in engineering. So if you want to do some research, if you think about doing research, if you have the opportunity to do research and it's paid, do it the summer after your freshman year, because you're likely not going to get an internship unless you have a really good connection on a personal level. So get that research done your freshman summer. Next one, get internships. This should be pretty well known at this point. Yes, it is. But what most companies are hiring people, the easiest filter to make is to only consider people with internship experience. Yep. It's especially important to get them since most companies only consider active students for internships. They are also competitive to get, so make sure you do projects outside of class, do research, and gain other experience before applying. Someone who just puts down class projects or that they worked at Walmart on their resume will not get an internship. You know what? Class projects and worked at Walmart, I'd say that can get you an internship, because one of the goals of an internship is to help you work in a professional environment, and something we'll know about that is that you've worked another job. Now, if I could choose between working at Walmart or working a traditional retail job or working at a fast food restaurant or a restaurant versus, I don't know, working as a drafter or working as a shop tech or working as a construction hand, I'd take those jobs over the traditional retail jobs because it's more closely related to the industry. But yeah, doing the having other experience that's tangentially related will definitely help you. And doing projects, yeah, that's why it's important to put your design projects and stuff like that on your resume. If you have any personal projects, like my brother built himself his own camera slider and like modified a 3D printer, and I made sure that he put that at the top of his resume. He's a sophomore at A&M. Then that kind of stuff is great for your resume. Personal projects, anything that you're doing in your engineering design classes that are related to project experience. You can say, "Hey, I've worked as a team. I've done things." Those are good things to put on your resume to help you get an internship. But when I say that having worked at Walmart on your resume will not get an internship, it might not get you the most competitive internship, but it's better than not having any work experience at all. So definitely get that work experience under your belt whenever you're applying for internships. It's very important. Next one, join clubs for your major. It is a great way to make friends. If possible, try to get officer positions so you can network with more people. Companies often recruit through these clubs. Yeah, so I was involved in a few clubs in college, and what I'd say is one is enough. If you start getting involved in more than one and you take on multiple officer roles across clubs, you're going to find yourself stretching yourself pretty thin. So, maybe join multiple clubs, but if you want to take an officer role, maybe take one officer role in one club and then maybe cull back your involvement to that one club that you're really passionate about and then go to their regional events, go to their networking events, go to their professional club. So for example, ASME, there's the student clubs, there's a professional club. Go to the professional one, meet the professionals, network. It's not just being in your own club, it's going out and actually networking with people in industry. Those clubs connect you to industry, people that are passionate about their industry, because I don't know many people that as professionals now that were involved in ASME with me in college that are still involved with ASME. So those people that are professionals involved with ASME are obviously very passionate about it. So those are good people to make connections with. So definitely join clubs, join maybe a club, and then get involved in it, and then go to the national career fairs. If you join SWE, go to the national SWE fair. It's the best conference in engineering. It's the best career fair. It's awesome. Do that. Next one. Network. Be friendly with everyone in class. These people may help you land opportunities in the future. It's important to develop good connections with as many people as possible, including professors. Go to office hours whenever possible. Yeah, network, definitely. Keep a good relationship with other people. Treat it as like you're going to work. Be a professional to the extent, but just make good friends with your classmates because you're right. You never know when one of your classmates may be able to connect you into something that you want to do. They may help you lead an opportunity in the future. And professors are good too. I'd say that some professors have more industry connections than others. Um, and then just going to office hours, yeah, it's important in general to go to office hours because you need help, but also developing those cordial relationships with your professors, having that banter with them, and having those good friendships and relationships is always useful. Unless you financially have to, avoid working irrelevant jobs in college. Working part time at McDonald's or whatever is a waste of time. Job hiring is different from a college applications, and a job hiring only cares about your ability to contribute for that job. When I'm looking for an engineer, I want somebody who can do engineering. Working at McDonald's shows nothing about whether or not you can do engineering. Yeah, it shows that you can show up on time for work. I'd say that, yeah, if you could, again, they're kind of harping on this point. Maybe they have a personal experience, but yeah, if you can get a job related to your field, it's better to have a job than no job. But yeah, it sounds like maybe this person worked a job at McDonald's and they had trouble finding a job after college. But hey, McDonald's has awesome programs for people that work there where they can pay for your tuition. So there's no shame in that. But yes, it does help your resume to have work experience that's related to your industry. So do whatever you can to do that. But hey, if you're in the McDonald's tuition program, then I'm not going to knock that at all. All right, they go on to say, if you do this, you will take much more out of college. Tuition in America in America is expensive because it pays for all of these services. Yeah, they didn't mention career services, all that other kind of stuff. So please use them. You're wasting your money if you go to class only. Internships are especially important because they're often converted into full-time jobs once you graduate. The reality is that somebody with a 3.5 GPA but did these things in college has a high chance of landing jobs in prestigious companies like Boeing or Apple if you've done it right. And if you've followed my steps to graduating with a fulfilling career, then yes. But somebody who has a 3.9 GPA but did nothing else will be working at McDonald's when they graduate. No, that's not true. You will not be, if you get a 3.9 GPA, you're not going to be stuck at working at McDonald's. It might take you a little bit longer to find your first job if you have no other really experience on your resume, but if you are a talented engineer, then you're going to find a job. All right, they go on to say the worst mistake you can make is just going to class. So I wish them the best of luck. They have some good points there. I will say that if you have a great GPA and you're a great student and your involvement was minimal, it might take you a little bit longer to find a job, but you can still find a job. So let's not say that you're not going to find a job, because I would hate to be discouraging to somebody that graduated and went, oh man, all I had time to do was focus on school. Well, you probably had only time to focus on school because of the other things that you're not thinking about that you had your time filled by. So yeah, some good advice, and it's always good to get involved on campus and build your resume and focus on getting relevant work experience, but these are not absolutes. All right, next question. Can a CAD technician ever become an engineer? Okay. Is an engineering degree worth it? Hi guys, pretty much the title. I just finished my Gen Eds and I'm going to university this fall to get my bachelor's in science. The only problem I just now realized is that the program is an applied technology program and not a real engineering degree, so I can never get the PE in my state. So I can only ever become a CAD tech, and their salaries seem to cap at 60 to 70K. Thing is, I'm trying to graduate debt free, and I already have a scholarship that covers all my tuition and housing and 2 years left to finish. If I wanted an engineering degree, I'd have to go to a big state school, probably do 3 more years of school, and have debt. Plus, I'd have to wait to start next year so I can apply for scholarships since this year is closed. I mean, I do have $30,000 in savings for college, so I'm sure I'll be fine paying for college financially. Still, I just don't know if it's worth switching schools, doing more courses, and taking longer to become an engineer, plus having to use a massive chunk of my savings. For my internship at a civil engineering company, technicians and engineers honestly seem to do the same thing, working at inroads. Do you guys think it's worth it to make the switch? I don't plan on having an extravagant lifestyle, just don't want to worry about paying bills. But at the same time, I feel like I'm limiting my growth. Is it possible to become an engineer with just an ED degree, or should I take advantage of the company's tuition program to get an engineering degree later? Long story short, become a tech with no debt and little schooling, or become an engineer with more schooling and maybe debt. No, not without an engineering degree, you can't become an engineer, but you can grow as a technician and you can grow into a designer role and you can grow, but as you said and as you suspect, your career growth will always be limited by the fact that you don't have an engineering degree. And that doesn't mean that you can't get to great places. Like you can't become a manager or go into project management and then get into leadership at your company. I'm not saying that you can't do that. You can do that, but your pathway is definitely not going to be able to grow into becoming an engineer. Now, you say you work for a civil company, but say if you worked for a large consulting company, if you got your CAD tech degree and you became a pipe designer, there's no pipe engineering. So pipe engineers in consulting do really well, and they can have a lot of career growth financially as a designer and running pipe. But if you're going to school for a CAD tech degree, then you're learning the skills to be a CAD tech. There are just certain skills that you're not learning that engineers learn in an engineering program, and that's why it's much more difficult to get through an engineering program than a technician program. It's a lot more rigorous, and the result is, and for you, it also requires a little bit more money and time, and that's that's the reality of the industry, and it's why engineers part of the reason why engineers get paid more and have more opportunities for career growth. So going that CAD tech route, you probably can't become an engineer. I'd say you can't become an engineer, but you can still have a great career. And you said the most important thing to you is just not having to worry about paying bills, and then the CAD tech role will be fine. And you can grow and maybe become a manager of all the technicians one day, And then maybe if you want to go into project management or leadership in your company, you can kind of pivot from that management position. But you can't grow into an engineering role. You can't stamp drawings. You can't do engineering designs and mark off drawings and stamp them without your PE, without an engineering degree. So that's what I'd say. Let's see what the comments say. The comments say, oh, here's my comment. Yes, but if you know what you want to do, why choose a degree that is only going to make it harder for you? Get the degree that sets you up for the most success in the field that you want to work in. They say, I feel lost in life. Honestly, I enjoy the CAD work and learning, but I always fear that I'm not going to stick with it. Then, yeah. And then I said that the engineering degree is more versatile. All right, BSMET here. Started as a CAD tech. I did not start at the same level as a BSME or MSME grads. Worked my way up in a large company, and I'm now a team manager with BSMEs and MSMEs reporting to me. I work in analysis, which is pretty technical, and am excelling. My salary is north of 100,000. Once you've built some engineering career capital, your degree simply doesn't matter anymore. Okay. As a BSME tells me as a manager that you're technically capable and understanding of the fundamentals of engineering, but make no mistake, a fresh engineering grad knows basically nothing regardless of their degree. Once you've proven yourself as an engineer, how you got your start isn't important. The exception here is for a specialized field that requires an advanced degree. I say do what appeals to you more. I'm grateful for the education I've received, even though some thinks it's inferior to traditional engineering degree. For what it's worth, I've kept a mental log of employers who've snubbed me on that. It's not a long list, and I've passed about all of them up already. Okay. I I didn't realize it was a bachelor's of science in engineering technology. Well, and engineering technology is still um, a step in the in the right direction, but I don't know. You can have a great career if you get an engineering technology degree. It's just not the same as a bachelor's of science in engineering that's ABET accredited that leads to a PE. I will say that yeah, you could potentially hit a ceiling in your career that engineers don't have. So I mean, but you can also have a great career. So if that's what is palatable for your lifestyle and in your career, and it's what you can afford, then maybe the opportunity cost of stopping everything, uprooting yourself, and going to engineering school for a traditional engineering degree isn't worth it. So, is it worth it? Maybe not, but can a CAD technician ever become a true engineer? Probably not. But you could do a lot of engineering work with the right experience. So I wish you the best of luck. Next question. What engineering degree would you recommend for me? Hi, I'm currently looking to start an engineering degree, but not sure what to choose yet. I'm mainly looking at aerospace engineering as I find space, rockets, and general space stuff very interesting. My dream job would be something along the lines of working with spacecraft, rovers, and satellites. Also, with the far fetched dream of becoming an astronaut, I know it's unlikely. I'd like some type of job where I can be somewhat hands on with development, testing, and analysis. Would also like opportunities like working in Antarctica and cool stuff like that. What engineering degree should I look into? At the moment, I'm torn between aerospace, mechanical, or electrical. Also, maybe take a bachelor in electrical or mechanical, then a master's in aerospace. I don't need a master's in aerospace, but you could get a master's in aerospace. Some people do that. What I'd say is that aerospace would be good, mechanical would be good, electrical would be good. All of those would actually be good. And what I'd recommend you do is take your intro to engineering class when you get to college and kind of see what you're interested in from there. I'd say that aerospace is a little bit more limiting in the fact that it is an aerospace engineering degree. At the same time, aerospace engineering companies employ mechanical engineers, they employ electrical engineers. There's plenty of jobs where that are related to aerospace that aren't necessarily aerospace engineering degree specific. Aerospace, I kind of think of it as a sub-discipline of mechanical engineering. So I'd say look into mechanical, look into electrical, look into aerospace, and once you've taken your intro class, then maybe you'll know which one of those is best for you, and then you just kind of see it for yourself. You might find that you do better in circuits than you do in your statics class. And then you're like, oh, maybe I should do electrical engineering. Or you might find that you do better in dynamics than you did in circuits or electronics and realize, oh, I want to do that. Or maybe you take your intro to coding class and you realize, oh, wow, I really like coding much more than all this applied stuff, even though you said you want to do applied stuff. Then maybe you go do computer science. There's plenty of different jobs that are related to aerospace engineering. So you don't necessarily need an aerospace engineering degree to do that. But again, if you want to do aerospace engineering, then just do it. Just do aerospace engineering. I will say that there are a lot of really cool jobs. What I'd recommend doing is maybe getting a job at one of the plants where those facilities are being, those craft are being built. Like, for example, my dad worked for Lockheed Martin for many years. That Lockheed Martin has a plant in Fort Worth, and a lot of engineers actually work in the plant, and they get to go see the planes in person, which is pretty cool. So maybe do some research into where the facilities are where they're building these things, and get a job where you can actually be hands on. That would be really cool for you. And they hire all kinds of engineers to do that kind of stuff. So I'd say you don't necessarily need the bachelor's. What I'd say is figure out where those companies that work in the aerospace engineering degree hire. And if you haven't paid to college yet, then choose a college that has a good pipeline there and maybe has a club that's sponsored by one of those companies that you're interested in. Then join that club, get involved in that club that's sponsored by the company you want to work, the companies that you want to work for. Do rocketry or do whatever clubs that are related to that. And then do your best to get an internship with one of those companies and realize what it is for you. But you can have a career in aerospace engineering and you can do it with your mechanical engineering degree, electrical, or aerospace. But if you really want to do aerospace, just go ahead and get that aerospace engineering degree. Next question. We're moving into our career questions. Will there be a huge need for chemical engineers in the near future? It seems like a lot of people are either leaving the industry or at retirement age soon. Does that mean new chemical engineers will be in major demand soon? Maybe see a surge in opportunities like CS has in the past decade? Yeah, I think there will be a huge need for chemical engineers in the near future. There's a huge need for them now. We have a lot of new facilities. We have carbon capture technology. We have new ways of generating energy as part of the energy transition that we're going to need a lot of chemical engineers for. We definitely need chemical engineers. And yes, there are a lot of people that are at retirement age. We got a lot of boomers that are retiring now in general. So there's a lot of growth opportunities in the engineering industry in general. But yes, we'll definitely need a lot of chemical engineers, especially ones that are interested in working in plants and working in new facilities that are maybe in semi-remote locations. And there's going to be a need for sure. Next one. Friend wants me to call a job he applied for and provide a personal reference. Just as the title says, buddy of mine applied for a job and wants me to call the place to provide a personal reference. Seems like a really bad idea because from my perspective, it's just pushy. It's not like they called me. He told me he already has listed me as a reference, just looking for other thoughts on this. Is it a good idea or a bad idea to call? I'd say it's a bad idea to call, especially if they haven't said, hey, unless your buddy said that the company wants you to call, which I don't know why they would say that. They have you down as a reference and they have your contact information. They would just call you. So again, unless they expect you to call, wouldn't call. I agree. Sounds pushy, maybe a little bit too much, and I don't think it's appropriate. So your gut is telling you the right thing. So go with your gut. Tell your buddy, hey, you put me down as a reference. They didn't tell me to call them. If they want to talk to me, they will give me a call. So yeah, best of luck to your buddy in getting a job, though. All right, next one. And the last question. Drinking with coworkers. For the second time since I started my new job, I was drunk in front of coworkers. First time was a team building event, and I felt really embarrassed afterwards because I was the most drunk one. Everyone else was drinking as well, but wasn't wasted. Also, it was sort of a company event, so they made it even worse. No one said anything about it afterwards. Now, I was out in a bar privately and I saw the top managers. It's a flat hierarchy, and it's not strange for even entry level employees to be friends with the top execs at the same place. They invited me and my friend to join them, and then we went into a club and stayed out until the morning. We were all pretty drunk and had a good time. Now I'm being paranoid that it's not a really good look and that they will have a bad opinion about me, that I'm not serious and professional. Just wondering what are people's thoughts on this. I'm guessing since everyone else is drinking, it's fine. After the first time, I promised myself that I'd never drink with coworkers again because it's never just one drink with me. But the second time, I didn't know I would see them at all, and I was already drunk by the time we got together. Do you think that this will affect people's perception of me? Side note, as I said, I just started. I'm doing pretty good so far, and I'm doing my best at least, and working very hard. Here's what I'd say. The first one's on you. The first time that you got drunk at a company event is on you. That's on you. And you should not get drunk at a company event. My rule of thumb is that if I'm drinking at a company event, then I never have more than 2 drinks in my system at a time. So 2 drinks an hour max. And even then, that's really too much. I want to be completely cognizant of myself because if you get drunk, then you can do something that you regret, and then you can let other people off. You can affect other people's perception of you for sure. You can 100% affect other people's perception of you. So you should not get drunk at a team building event. Even if the company is paying for unlimited drinks, that does not mean drink unlimited drinks. And if you say, just like you said, because it's never just one drink with you, then you need to work on that. And you need to practice drinking in an environment where you stop drinking. Have a friend, have a buddy, have somebody that you go drinking with your friends and then say, "Hey, I'm only going to have 2 drinks tonight." And then hold yourself to it because you need to learn how to manage your alcohol. Because it sounds like you do have a problem in managing your alcohol in general. Because you said because I was the most drunk one, everyone else was drinking as well but wasn't wasted. Yeah, you should never get wasted at a company event ever. Ever. Now, the other one, you ran into your managers in a bar and they invited you to go out with them and that you were both drinking on your own time and you had a good time and nobody said anything about it to you, probably fine. It's probably fine. You probably that those moments where you get to go and not be at those serendipitous moments where you run into coworkers and you're having a good time, regardless of the context. Those are the things that you bond with your coworkers over. So company event, getting wasted, being the only one wasted, bad. But drinking with coworkers on your own time or drinking with coworkers and being at the same level and nobody's saying anything about, hey, you embarrass yourself, you're probably fine. Maybe just find the person that you're closest with and say, hey, next time you see him, say, hey, it was so fun running into you last weekend. I had such a good time. Hope I wasn't too much. LOL. And then you can kind of see based on their reaction, or like say, "Hey, oh my gosh, remember when we did this? That was so fun." Catch them like away from work, but you can kind of get a vibe of how they feel about it. But yeah, keep on working hard. Promising yourself that you'd never drink with coworkers again, probably too much. There's nothing wrong with drinking with coworkers as long as you can manage yourself. So you're reasonably paranoid. Again, the first time, embarrassing, but hey, you were new. You're probably young. You're probably early in your career. Stuff like that happens. So just don't make a habit about it, and keep on doing good work, and maybe check in with one of your coworkers and that you went out with it that second time, and just keep on moving on with your career. Let's see what the comments say. Honestly, just don't be that guy, and you are fine. I was that guy once or twice, but other peers have been that guy too. It's only created camaraderie in the end and funny stories. I didn't do anything too embarrassing besides puke and have a miserable next day sitting through a training. My bosses still share stories of nights out with people even further up the company, not to mock them or judge, but to share good times that create memories and bonds which strengthen you in the workplace. I see a lot of comments about separating work and personal life, and that may work in their careers, but I could not imagine someone being that shut off from their peers, creating a strong network and support system to create upward acceleration. Then again, every company is different. My experience is from a major OEM. They say Elaine's Dance. Somebody else says, no, drinking and going out with coworkers every few months is a great way to build camaraderie. And then the next person said, this is great advice. Just do keep in mind the degree to which you drink. It should not always be to where you get wrecked. From life's perspective, not job, that's not a good thing to do. Again, the first one wasn't great. Getting drunk enough to be embarrassed at a company event isn't good, but the second time was good for you. You were invited to get drunk with upper management. You all got very drunk together, and you all were equally drunk. That's a good thing to do. That's kind of my perception. So don't worry about it too bad. In general, figure out how to handle yourself, your alcohol in general, and then you'll be just fine. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me for this episode of Engineering Success Podcast. I'm hanging out with baby E here. We're going to go to church. But we really appreciate you guys hanging in here with us and supporting the podcast. Remember, you can support us by liking, share, commenting below, commenting anywhere, sharing with other people that are young professional engineers, young engineering professionals trying to get their career started, or people that are aspiring to be engineers. That is my audience. I really appreciate you guys, and keep an eye out for my interview on the Soft as Steel podcast. All right. Check in with you next time. Bye.
I'm miscommunicating. I just made a pilot, then they threw me on the stations. Nah, I'm not complaining. Nah, I'm not complaining. My thoughts get complicated. I cannot explain in lameness. Never losing focus because I ain't chasing payments. Still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries. Thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify. They put me on the station.